Alright. Well, I just watched Excalibur's review of Fear Fest 2, and I'm going to throw in my 2 cents. This is the perfect opportunity to talk about it. I was so excited for Fear Fest, I bought my VIP Dream Master, that's the highest one, package, because they had Dream Warrior, and then they just had general admission, I believe. Or, you probably have a weekend pass, and then you have a general admission for day or whatever. Anyway, so I got mine in August of last year, and I've been waiting for Fear Fest, mainly because Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my most favorite films, series ever, and Heather Langenkamp was going to be there, and Robert Englund was going to be there, and everyone else was just total icing on the cake. We were told there was going to be no waiting in line, that it was going to be a virtual line. And we were also going to be able to sit first in the screenings that were showing the first night. I don't know if that occurred during the other screenings because I pretty much gave up after that. I did get in to see them, but after we waited in line for 2 hours, and now granted, it snowed in Dallas, which was really weird, and it was supposed to be the Alamo Rolling Roadshow, so it was supposed to be outside. And I understand that there was, things at the last minute that had to be done. But then we waited in line for 2 hours, and then people with general admission got to sit in the first rows, and I ended up having to sit in the back all night long. So, although I could see the films, and it actually turned into a positive because a lot of the cast would sit behind me, and I could hear them kind of talking at the beginning of each of the films to each other, because, to them it's like going through their high school reunion, high school annual yearbook. There you go. So, I was, okay, whatever. I went and I picked up my tickets earlier that day, and the guy was kind of giving me a hard time because I didn't have my receipt, even though there was a list of who bought tickets laying next to him. He just didn't want to open it up and look. But I got my stuff. I did not get the autographed tickets for Robert Englund, because I didn't know about them. I would expect the person who's helping me would give me everything I need. And they didn't have t-shirts at that time because they were delayed because of the snow. And I'm like, that's cool, whatever. So I find out about the autographed tickets. I go back up there to the same guy, and I was like, yeah, I didn't get those when I came and got all of this. And he kind of, I don't know who's doing this. I don't know what's going on. And I was that close to going, well, sir, it was you. It was actually you who didn't give me the autographed tickets that we spent a lot of money on, so can you give them to me now? But they never gave me any grief over the fact that I was picking up 2 passes with 2 bags and all of that fun stuff. They never ever, because, well, he checked and he saw that I had 2 tickets. So we come the next morning, and we're eating breakfast in the hotel lobby, and we see a line start forming, and I'm like, surely that can't be for Robert Englund, because it's a virtual line and there's no need for anyone to be standing around. Well, we got in line about 9:45. We were supposed to be able to get into the vendor room at 10. We stood in line until about 1:15 p.m., which is when we finally switched lines. We had a rotating thing going with some people that we were there with, that one of us would stand in one line and another would stand in the other, and we'd go through. Well, we got our pictures taken, then Robert Englund went to lunch, and then when he came back, we were actually at the beginning of the line. But what happened was we had no numbers, so that they couldn't call anything. And I heard one of the guys, he told me that they were supposed to have a PA system, but they were having problems with it. And I suggested, I was like, well, you can get a whiteboard. And he kind of got a call and wandered off and wasn't really paying attention to what I was saying. And what I meant was, you can get a whiteboard, write the numbers on there, and people will come by and check. But we didn't have any numbers. But some people were telling us that our autograph tickets were our numbers. But I'm sure they didn't track it, so they had no idea what number sets to call. So we finally got our autograph after lunch, because right before lunch, the guy came out and he counted and he said, we're going to stop the line here. Mr. England's going to lunch, and then we'll start up. And this guy stepped out of line and he goes, you better get us some fucking numbers. And there was pretty much agreement in everyone who was in earshot, because what they had expected us to do was to either continue standing in line that wasn't moving for an hour because the star was going to be leaving, or we could get out of line and lose our spot and come back and try again later. Well, you know, this simplistic idea of a numbering system. It's like, give us numbers so that we can go and do other things, then come back and we can get in the same order that we were in. And finally they got a post-it pad. But what did they do for a line of like 300 people? They got one post-it pad that has about 75 pages in it. So they kept having to stop. So people were actually still waiting in line while Robert Englund was at lunch, waiting for their number so that they could leave and come back and be in line. I assume it's possible that people stood there the entire time waiting for this, because people at the end didn't know what was happening up at the beginning, and when the people would walk by who were staffing it, they'd kind of just say it to you as they walked by. And so you'd hear the middle part of what they had to say. That was annoying. The staff was extremely uncoordinated, and in a lot of instances, they were kind of rude. And quite frankly, you're offering a service, and if I'm rude to you, granted, I shouldn't physically threaten you, I shouldn't get in your face and scream, but if I'm a little bit rude to you because I'm frustrated because what was sold to me was not what I got, you just have to take it. That's just the rule of capitalism and consumerism. You just take it, because you knew full well that we were standing in line. We've been standing there for 5 hours. Excalibur apparently didn't get it till Sunday, which is ridiculous. But apparently they didn't cap, or they claim they did, but I don't think they capped the VIP passes because everyone in line had one. And there were stories of that they stopped the line so that vendors could get their stuff signed, and then at one point this girl was throwing a hissy fit, and one of the staffers there got her stuff, stopped the line, walked up there, got it all signed, and brought it back to her. When some of my friends were like, what just happened? He was like, oh, well, they're guests of mine. It's like, you're a friggin' volunteer. You don't get to have guests that you give, you know, special treatment to. That was annoying. But I finally got Robert Englund's, and then it started, and I started meeting all the other people. We actually got a few of the people before, while Robert Englund was at lunch, but I talked to Brad Lorry, who is Michael Myers in Halloween 8, and the guy who played Andy from the original and the second Child's Play, and Chris Sarandon, and the guy who played the entire Fright Night cast. I had the exact same experience with Amanda Burse. I walked up to her and I told her how much I loved her in Fright Night and how much it meant to me for someone as famous as her being on a show that she was on, coming out and standing up and being who she was. I also got a great big hug, and she took a picture with me and my boyfriend separately, and he goes, he films me. I have a lot of video footage and pictures and stuff. He doesn't really care about these horror movie stars because he doesn't really know. He can't figure out who they are because he hasn't watched them obsessively like I have. And, yeah, so Amanda Burse was great. And meeting William Ragsdale and Stephen Jeffries and